If you thought hyperinflation was bad for 2021, wait until you see what 2022 is going to bring. We know the real hyperinflation numbers for 2021 were somewhere between 12 and 14%, depending on how it's calculated. I realize that's not what the Fed put out, but if you guys haven't seen my videos on that, look back. The bottom line is the real numbers for hyperinflation are going to be 12 to 15%, 12 to 14%, simply because the Fed's not including things like food, gasoline, housing, stuff that's weighted really heavy, stuff that actually affects us. A practical approach to our inflation numbers. That's what we're looking at when we're looking at inflation. What is our buying power? So 2022 is bringing more regulation in the form of food, right? We just talked about that. So we've got food that's going to be more regulated than what it currently is. Right now, our food in this country is so unbelievably overregulated. Two consenting adults can't purchase milk from each other. If I have a dairy cow here and you're my neighbor and you want to purchase milk from me, you're legally not allowed to do it. I have to take it through a processor to send it to you. Unreal. The amount of freedom that China has in their food industry far surpasses us, and we're supposed to be the freest nation. Whatever, I'll get off my high horse on that one. We have more food regulation coming in. It's going to drive the prices of food up. We're already up astronomically. Kraft and Goya, I believe, have already said that they're going, and Campbell have all said that they're going to be looking at about a 25% increase on their products starting in January. Now, most of that I don't eat, but there are some products in there that they do make that I do eat, and so that's going to affect all of us. And that's going to affect a lot of people. So 20 to 25% increase in their food starting in January. That's, again, another big number for hyperinflation. We're looking at the Fed raising rates. They've said up 3 times next year, it looks like. It's a pretty minimal raise in the rates, but it is going to raise the interest rates in the housing. It's going to cause the housing to slow down a little bit on the selling side. Probably not a bad thing for it to happen anyways. But again, it's going to affect with the prices on the houses. That'll be interesting to see how that affects. That may actually help the inflation numbers. We'll deal with that a little bit more as we get into it and get into next year. But right now, the food being the biggest thing. Gas does not look like that's going down. In fact, it looks like that's going up. We have already seen Economic Ninja did his videos on this a while back with the whole Russia deal, right, with Saudi Arabia. We're shutting down pipelines continually. We have an administration that has no idea how to get our gasoline prices back down. And so those 3 characteristics make up a large portion of our inflationary numbers. That is going to continue to affect us for next year. The other thing that is being very overlooked right now is the Russia-China collusion, right? Collusion, say that cool word. We're bringing the Russia-China collusion to basically find a means of trade or a currency between them that they can use internationally. Right now, the US dollar is the mean of trade internationally. Russia and China are trying to develop something among themselves so they can get out of the SWIFT system, right, the banking-to-banking talking telegram system. They can get out of the SWIFT system. They can control it, and then we can no longer put sanctions on them when we don't like what they're doing. They would then be in charge of their own trade. That's going to be hugely powerful for them. This has to do, I believe, with what China is doing. China and Russia have both been buying up gold to strengthen their own currency. And I think the reason they're doing that is so that their currencies are interchangeable with each other, so that way they can make trade there, they can make trade with other countries, they can circumvent the US dollar. The US dollar will no longer be the means of trade for the world. The good news is that for us, our dollar will still be the means of trade here in America, so it still has some value. It just means that the inflation, we are no longer going to be able to export our inflation. Actually means we're going to have some fiscal responsibility. Fiscal responsibility, for those of you that don't know what that means not having $20 trillion or $30 trillion of government debt. The government is never going to stop spending. They're never going to stop. The people that think this debt is going to get paid off, simply not going to happen. Eventually, they're just going to crush the economy. I've heard people say they're either going to slash benefits or raise taxes. You can only do so much with either one of those. Can't slash everybody's benefits, can't raise taxes to hell and gone, and not without crashing the economy and becoming an entirely socialist country. Maybe on the docket, who knows. The bottom line is that there's no way for that to happen. The government is just going to keep spending money until something gets in the way that actually stops them from doing that. There's no way that they're just going to elect to stop and start paying off this debt. It's not going to happen. Anyways, you'd have to convince all of them that what they're doing is not only bad, but that the debt for the nation is bad, that we don't need debt for our normal operation. If we need debt for a normal operation, basically what the federal government is doing is using a credit card to live outside of their means. Problem is that there's no chance for them to ever get a raise to do this unless they continue to raise taxes. They're not going to cut entitlements because they're not going to lower that down. So what we're stuck with is we're stuck with this growing inflation numbers because we have so much debt. We can no longer export our inflation. We can no longer fix this issue, and we don't have a Congress or a presidential candidate even that has enough of a backbone to do it. That is a very wildly unpopular thing to do, to say that we need to get control of our debt, and it's just simply not going to happen from the capital side of things. Inflation is going to get worse, 2022. Inflation is always going to get worse, right? Every year, year over year, we know that there's a certain amount of inflation that they want to see in the economy. The problem that we want to avoid is getting in that hyperinflation realm, which we already hit. If we're talking about double digits being the hyperinflation criteria, the consistent double digits being the hyperinflation criteria, we've already started down this path, and it looks like we're going to continue going down that way. Things are only lining up for our inflation to get worse, not better. There has not been one consistent thing that could suggest that inflation will get better, other than the Fed thinking that raising the rates is going to fix the problem. Raising the rates a quarter of a point over the next year is not going to fix the problem of hyperinflation. You're not going to fix 10 and 15, 12%, whatever, these ridiculous number of inflations by raising the rates a little bit. We have to control our spending, which means control our Congress. We need a dollar that's actually backed by something. It used to be backed by oil. It's no longer backed by that. Prior to that, it was backed by gold. We're losing both those. So now we have a dollar that's not backed by anything. It's backed because the government says it's worth value. That doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot outside of the U.S. It means something to us, but outside of the U.S., it doesn't mean anything. So our dollar is slowly going to lose that value. We won't be able to export that inflation anymore. And so, guys, because of all of these things exacerbating on top of each other, our inflation numbers are just going to get worse for 2022. I'm thinking that we're looking at probably realistic numbers. If we say we were at 12% this year, I'm thinking 15% optimistically next year. I may be wrong. Good news is that if you plan for this, you can beat it. Cryptocurrencies, gold and silver, bullets, assets, businesses, real estate, all these things allow you to beat that inflation numbers. And the problem is that real estate is going to go up. We're going to start seeing these companies that have lots of American dollars. They're going to start buying up assets that allow them to store that money. We saw, what's that, what's the name of that company that they just bought $40 million worth of gold. We know that Elon Musk, he just bought a bunch of gold. We know that these companies are strategically placing themselves to have assets in something outside of the US dollar. If the smartest billionaires in the country are doing that, that's what we need to be doing as well. Really appreciate y'all watching, guys. I'm sorry, I know this went on a little bit longer than I intended to. So make sure and like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And other than that, go enjoy your weekend. We're trying to take a couple days off per week from video and trying to enjoy Fridays and Sundays. So Saturdays we are going to do a video. We are going to have a video every Saturday morning. No matter what, we'll have that one out for you guys. But we're really trying to do a video about 5 days a week right now. So hopefully that helps you guys out. We are getting ready to launch our Patreon, or there's one other one that we're looking at with it. So there'll be a couple of channels that we're looking at outside of YouTube to allow us to post some topics that are a little bit more sensitive. We really want to stay with one channel and have just YouTube, but there's topics I can't talk about on here that I would really like to. So we're going to go over to some other platforms. Unfortunately, those are paid platforms. We're going to make a really cheap monthly membership of like $2 a month that y'all can come over and actually see some of those topics that we're talking on. Doesn't mean we're going to give up YouTube. It just means topics that we can't talk about on here, we can do over there. So thanks again for watching, guys. Like I said, we'll be launching the Patreon channel when we hit, I think, 10,000 subscribers is a goal. So please share the videos out there and make sure and subscribe if you haven't already done so. We have lost some subscribers. Sometimes I look down on it and I lose 50 for whatever reason. YouTube just seems to unsubscribe people. So definitely do check that. And if you've lost your subscription, make sure and pound that subscribe button. Also hit the little bell up there, because otherwise, I don't know, subscribing doesn't mean anything anymore. But if you hit the bell, it just tells everybody up at YouTube that, you know what, hey, this guy likes this video. So thanks for watching.